Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
It is the 4th day of March, 2012. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours. And Dr. Jerome Corsi, who can only pop in with us for about 15 minutes Friday, will be joining us for the full hour via video Skype for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers and better audio for radio listeners. And I'm going to cover the economy with Dr. Corsi. I'm going to cover the Iran situation. Of course, he was part of Sheriff Arpaio's big investigation confirming that the birth certificate is a forgery and a fraud. We're going to look at that and cover the waterfront with a very informed guest who has a lot of big inside connections and can tell us where the attack on Iran is going. And again, there's a lot of things Iran does that I don't like. A lot of things China does I don't like. It doesn't mean we're going to have war with them. You know, China has nuclear weapons. We're going to have a war with them. Iran is far away from getting a nuclear weapon. I don't want this war because the globalists are going to use it to take liberties at home. That doesn't mean that I want to live under the mullahs or something. It means that our country has been turned into an engine of empire. And the empire sells all these invasions and wars on spreading freedom. They're not spreading freedom. They've put actual al-Qaeda in command of Libya on record. That's not debated. That's NBC News, LA Times. They're using them to attack Syria to get rid of Assad, but something worse in. They're taking more rights under the Western-backed revolution in Egypt. And the program is wrecked these countries. And I want the Iranians to have good lives. I want Americans to have good lives. I want the Egyptians, the Russians, the Chinese, Mexicans, Brazilians, South Africans. I just want humanity to have a fair shake. And undoubtedly there have been corrupt, evil engines before. Communism under the Soviets. But you go research, you find out the big mega banks, the people that created the Federal Reserve, the folks that control England, they openly funded the communists and then used that threat, that real threat, to take our liberties here and to have giant government contracts given to their defense and intelligence complex. And so they basically sell weapons and technology and systems of surveillance and media control to all sides. It's so elementary that a lot of people just can't understand it because it's in plain view. And it's that simple. Now, when I come back from break, I'm just going to mention the stacks of news here. They're all very important. And it also made big news a month ago when Dave Mustaine, out of context, was everybody said he endorsed Santorum. He did not endorse Santorum. It became a big national story. And when he pointed out that he did not endorse Rick Santorum, just that he doesn't like Romney, they didn't really cover that. Dave is here in town, played in Austin, and he's staying with me for a few days, him and his wonderful wife, Pam. And it probably won't be a live interview because I want to do it really good in studio tomorrow after the radio show for the nightly news in a few days, because I want to cut the music in and part of the concert and make it real good. But that's going to be a powerful interview we haven't shot yet. You know, we've done some in person before as well with Dave. Interesting story last night. If I have time today, I'll tell it just because it's interesting. I'm getting to where I don't even know what week it is anymore because there's so much happening. And Coast to Coast AM wanted me on last night. And so the concert ends at about 10:15, but he played like 5 extra songs and then was saying bye because it was the end of the tour to the rest of the band. So I'm speeding to get home to go on Coast to Coast AM with Dave Mustaine and his wife. And the cop pulls me over. And he probably, it was like a 50-mile-an-hour because he has construction, but he let me off, which was a nice officer. I could tell he was a listener. More and more. I almost missed a Ron Paul interview a few months ago and got here the minute the show started with Ron Paul. I mean, I have just got to budget in more time. I'm doing too much. Big news coming up.
From deep in the heart of FEMA Region 6, Austin, Texas, transmitting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Well, we've got more off-the-chart, insane news and information for you today. That's why I'm the hardest working man in talk radio. 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, back here every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. A lot of great affiliates out there picking up the Sunday show. XM is not yet picked up the Sunday show. They pick up the weekday show live. We're working on that. And I have got a lot to talk about today. We have Dr. Jerome Corsi joining us here on this March 4th, 2012 Sunday edition to talk about the economy, his inside sources on the upcoming Iran war. Can that be averted? Can that be stopped? He's the main guy helping do research with the forensic experts worldwide, with Dr. Jerome Corsi out there working with Sheriff Arpaio out in Phoenix. And, of course, coming out last week in the press conference last Thursday and saying it is a forgery, it is a fraud, there's probable cause to begin an investigation, because that fraud is being perpetrated against the people of Arizona and that county. You see, you can have the bottom attack the top. That's why we have the states, why we have the counties. The real authority is in the states. So that is coming up, and we'll be able to take your calls as well for Dr. Corsi. I'm not giving the number out yet. Now, here's the incredible news. Death toll from twisters rises to 37 in 4 states. A baby was taken 2 miles up and thrown into a field like something out of The Wizard of Oz, but the baby didn't get set softly down like Dorothy. No, more like the house got dropped on it, but it's in critical condition. And, you know, my point is, I had the guys pull the numbers up from the NOAA, and on average, there's more than 200 deaths from tornadoes every year. 200. This is 37 just in one day. Boom. They don't even tell you have storm shelters anymore. I mean, old-timers didn't need to be told to have a storm cellar. They didn't need to be told to store food. They didn't need to be told they need a shotgun in case a prowler comes around. They didn't need to be told to not walk in traffic or tie their shoelaces. I saw an article when I was out in Orlando, and I kept it, but I don't know where it is. It's on the cover of the paper about pedestrian accidents are way up. Well, yeah, people just walk right out in front of you. People on bikes get on highways now. Bicycles just get in front of you. You've seen the videos, people walking in malls, and they walk right into somebody or walk right into the fountain because they're on their smartphones. I mean, people are just in a trance. And I was looking at the statistics in the article. I mean, it's several hundred percentage point increase. That was giving nationwide statistics. We're talking about how bad Orlando was, because that's folks on vacation. They're really not paying attention. Just walking out in front of cars, just, again, people are getting more and more unconscious. The language is becoming restricted. And you've got 2 different camps. You've got those that are awake, and that's a growing group. Then you've got the others that are kind of asleep, who are getting into a deeper trance. And I guess there's a third group. There's globalists that are awake but decide to use the fact that the general public is sleepwalking, literally. I mean, brainwaves have lowered the last 50 years since television became popularized. Video games lower brainwaves. Most people are in a near sleep-like state. And you talk to them, their eyes are glazed over. They are literally in a mesmerized state. That's what television does to you if it's not interactive. Reading's the best. Listening is second best. Computers are not very good because the flicker rate and things, but at least you're interactive. That tends to keep you somewhat more conscious. Reading is the best. You've got to image it. So is radio. All the studies show that, because you're having to image in your mind, when I say Andrew Breitbart, that the synapses of your brain, of that electrochemical computer, goes out and pulls up an image of Andrew Breitbart. And the coroner is looking at murder. That's in the Los Angeles Times. Oh, I'm the evil conspiracy theorist. You'd be a fool with this guy bringing down Akron upwards of $8 billion a year to all these big city machines, these mafia types, and saying, I'm going to get you. I'm releasing footage March 1st of you at communist meetings, and he dies in the early morning hours of March 1st. While he's at a table at a bar drinking 2 glasses of wine with dozens of people talking to him and sitting around him. It's been reported by eyewitnesses. Oh, he had a heart attack or had some heart problems. Maybe they poisoned him then. He's 43. The point is the timing of this, him saying, I'm going to bring you down, Obama. Oh, yeah, and jumping up and down at CPAC 3 weeks ago and telling people, March 1st, it's over for Obama and he dies March 1st. I mean, come on. Mama didn't raise a fool. Foul play, my gut tells me it's absolute foul play. And my gut, the more I listen to my gut, the better my life gets. I just can't believe how accurate it is, so I still just don't go off my gut. But it's got a perfect record. Perfect. Unless I'm tired or ate too big a meal, then my gut doesn't work because it's working on something else. But here it is. Andrew Breitbart, coroner wants to cover all the bases and will be looking at all the causes, including foul play. That's Los Angeles Times. So there you go. I told you, the big telltale sign he was killed is that within less than 2 hours of him being killed, I went and looked at the timestamps on the articles, they were announcing that it was natural causes. Now, when that starts happening, you better look out. And then I said, if they don't release the footage he was going to release March 1st, look out. Now they're saying 2 weeks. So out of all these things going on in the world that are more important, this individually, though, signals if it was an assassination, and I hope it wasn't, and maybe it's not. It's scary because, it came out in the newspapers a few years ago that I'm on the White House enemies list, so is Andrew Breitbart, so is Matt Drudge. And now lawsuits have been filed, and they've gotten the documents that Drudge is spied on by Homeland Security. I mean, they track everything. And, of course, Liberty Guard, headed up by Bob Barr, has been suing. We got to get the former congressman back on. He said he'd come back on. He's now suing him, trying to get FOIA request for searches of Alex Jones, Infowars.com, DrudgeReport.com, and things like that, because their internal whistleblower told them that people that complain and stuff they're putting on list, and that they were basically surveilling and telling their employees that we're basically terrorists. And that was like 6 months ago. 8 months ago, Bob Barr was given that by sources, and he's been suing, asking for it. And well, first he did a FOIA, and they declared national security, so now he's suing. So all of this is going on, and Big Sis admits she reads our articles, and they're on Drudge and other sites, and does not like them. And yeah, I'm going up against these corrupt individuals in Homeland Security that have been caught shipping guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. So there's the news on that front. Aaron Dykes has a big report out on it right now at Infowars.com. He's up here working on Sunday. The great Stalinist purge of media critics on Obama's reported enemies list. It's reported in 2009, Obama's enemies list, a roadmap for great purging of critics in the lead-up to 2012 elections. Well, if they'll ship guns into Mexico that have killed 2,000 people, in Mexico, hundreds here, including, 3 Border Patrol agents and 3 police officers. 100% killed, and it was 100% to blame the Second Amendment. Gee, if they'll fund al-Qaeda to attack Libya and take it over and purge tens of thousands of black people, that's on record now. We first told you with Tarpley and others who went there to witness it. And I had Tarpley on while bombs were going off, and the phone line would cut out. You hear, boom, and then, the phone line would cut out. And he said, yes, they're lining blacks up and shooting them. And then months later, all the news here is like, yeah, there's a big purge. I mean, what on earth is going on here? And now I'm unpatriotic because I don't support al-Qaeda. Well, look, if that's unpatriotic, then I'm sorry, I'm not patriotic. I mean, if it's patriotic to have the TSA federalizing everything, if it's patriotic to have wide open borders while you say give up our rights, my point about these horrible twisters is they don't tell people have storm cellars here in Austin where I live, and we're in Tornado Alley. I was looking it up. In Central Texas, in just the last 20 years, there's been over 300 deaths from tornadoes. I mean, how many did they kill in Gerald? It's a whole bunch just in in just a few minutes. But again, be scared of terrorism. You got a better chance of dying from honeybee sting or champagne cork or slipping in the shower or tornadoes. But oh my gosh, let's not get prepared for any of that, or spiders biting you or deer jumping out in front of you. Let's freak out about the scary man. It's all about the system power grabbing your tax money.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
Tell you some of the other big news that's obviously coming up today ahead of Dr. Corsi joining us. Russian election, tearful Vladimir Putin wins presidency. And there's clear evidence of election fraud over there. You can go over it if you want, but it's there. But there's also media critics being silenced and things. And there's election fraud in this nation, you better believe it. When Ron Paul was winning early states, they just stole them in Iowa and Maine. And it came out weeks and months later that they were stolen. And they just say, we're not going to discuss it. Move along. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that Romney is the man. And between all of them, it doesn't matter. I mean, Newt Gingrich is so bad that I guess Santorum or Mitt Romney are better. I can't believe I just said that. But with somebody as bad as Gingrich, I mean, that's just the way it is. But it doesn't matter because they're just puppets. Ron Paul's a real candidate, so he was shut out. Oh, but Ahmadinejad is in trouble. He's coming very close to losing their seats in Parliament, and then, of course, that'll force him out, and there'll be a new president. But it doesn't matter because there the mullahs choose who can get on the ballot. So it's kind of like here, the elites decide, okay, you can vote for Obama or Romney. They both are paid for by Goldman Sachs on record. And the former head of Bain Capital is gone to be the head economic guy for Obama. I mean, the guy that Mitt Romney hired and trained and works for him, and Romney still owns a big part of Bain Capital. It's in a blind trust. Now works for Obama. I mean, there is no difference. Zero. With those two guys, it is literally like WWF Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. It isn't real. And I still run into adults that tell me wrestling's real. You're the same folks that believe in Santa Claus, okay? And Ron Paul comes along and says, I'm not going to play along with the Santa Claus game. And everybody freaks out. And that's all that's happening. That's all that's going on here. Okay. That said, we're going to be getting into that. Continuing here, I want to get into a news piece that we're going to air at the end of this hour that isn't even really about the particular story I'm going to be covering, but it's about how the police and other government systems are so used to dealing with media that just regurgitates whatever they say that they were completely blown away when we went out a few months ago and pointed out that they're buying millions and millions of dollars worth of armored gunboats with giant machine guns mounted on them, and that it's a dangerous precedent. And now the media is using the term gunboat, KVUE here in Austin, and a bunch of other TV stations and publications. So when my reporters showed up to film new boats with machine guns, giant machine guns mounted on them, they just flipped out on them. And then started calling our local affiliate 590 that we're on right now, trying to engage in a psyop. So this is going to be a great teaching moment for the public, but also for the Texas State Police, who are famous for files on people and illegal spy rings and things in the 70s and 80s that got shut down. And DPS intelligence, they're all back at their old tricks. It's a subsidiary of Homeland Security. The last DPS director was not going along with this, so he's out. And I've seen a lot of changes now that they got rid of the last director. And I don't like it, and it's dangerous. And what I saw out of them is creepy. And that's why we're going to have to now examine the state police very closely. And you were not on our radar screen. You are on it now. Big time. And obviously, you're running scared. The wicked flee when none pursue. So I don't know why you flipped out like this, but wait till you hear the story. I mean, it is bizarre what happened. So that is coming up with that report, with the video report of us trying to get the interview with their spokesman. Okay. This next piece of news, before I get into the big news, Iran, was so crazy. And I called Paul Watson about this morning, and he said, you don't know? It's been out since Friday. We posted it Friday. Drudge Report had it Friday. You don't know about this. And I said, no. And I read 3 different mainstream articles, and I cannot believe this. I cannot get my mind around it because it's so crazy. It's so crazy. You've heard of the TSA making women drink their own breast milk. to make sure it's not a bomb. It's all about arbitrary, everybody's a terrorist, take your shoes off, take your belt off, go in a scanner, we're going to touch your genitals. It's all slave training, prisoner training. They admit that's what it is. And it's training everybody for federalization, an unbonded, unsworn, non-police kind of brown shirt brigade. Every third world country does this. They set up like an auxiliary oppression force. Because the police are trained, at least know something of the Bill of Rights and Constitution. You know, the cops don't pull you over and go just randomly, okay, everybody I pull over, I grab your genitals. Everybody knows that's illegal, violation of the Fourth Amendment. It's a violation of the 10th Amendment. And I've seen cases, literally hundreds of cases, where they now make women go behind closed doors and take their bras off so that women can fondle them. I mean, look, why is it okay for same sex to fondle you? I mean, in a way, I'd kind of like the opposite sex to fondle me. Not that I like it, but it might be a little better. It's kind of like a couple times a year, I go get a massage and I request a woman. It's not because I'm going to be doing anything with them in there, or a happy ending, as they call it. I don't like guys touching me. You know, I don't like how guys smell. I don't like how they look. Guys look like kind of dirty-looking monkeys or something to me. You know what I mean? Women look beautiful, magical, juicy. You know, I mean, yeah, it's like a plate of enchiladas or something. Men look like a bucket of dog crap. I'm sorry to use that, but, you know, point is that it's just like, well, don't worry, we have women searching you, or we have women sticking their hands down your 2-year-old daughter's pants. How is that okay? I mean, guys rape guys. I mean, is it like okay if guys go out in a park and rape another guy? Well, it's a guy. I mean, it's like worse. Okay, you're saying what is the craziest thing that I've ever seen and I'm about to talk about here? She's got a breast pump, and they scan it, and it's the name of the company, it's a breast pump, and they say, well, the bottles are empty. And the lady says, yeah, it's my breast pump. You know, I'm going out of town, my baby's with me, I've got to work some, there's a babysitter, I'm going to have to pump milk. You know, my wife did it 3 times. When we were going to go out to dinner or go out to dinner and a movie, be gone 3-4 hours, my wife would have to sit there and pump the milk and give it to the babysitter or family that came over to keep one of our children. I mean, I know it's evil. I know there's a war against breastfeeding, a war against organic, a war against anything reality-based by this plastic culture of death. But the TSA did apologize for this, but then they never stopped. And he said, you're going to pump that right now, and you're going to come back and show me that you've got milk in your breast. And if you don't like hearing this on the radio, I know this is what's happening to our women. So she had to go she says, is there a private place? He said, no, even though they had the little private grope room where they like to molest people. He said, no, you'll go in the bathroom. So she had to stand in front of everyone at the metal mirrors and do it, and then come out, and then he inspected it and basically yelled at her. It's land of the humiliated cowards and slaves, land of the people that will take anything. I'm going to tell you more about this when we come back. Then Iran. And what's happening with the electric cars that no one wants to buy, that you pay for with your taxpayer money to build the assembly lines on, but now they're shutting those down. It's all coming up. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. You have found it, the front lines of the info war, the tip of the spear in the fight to awaken free humanity against the scourge of the scientific dictatorship known as the New World Order. Thank you for joining us. So, it's always about more power, more arbitrary power. 10 years after 9/11, the TSA, as Forbes reported last week, TSA coming to a highway near you. In fact, put that up on screen for prisonplanet.tv viewers. A congresswoman who I want to get on did a story about, yeah, they're all over the country now. You pull up to checkpoints and they're now groping you on highways. They're not sworn officers. I've checked. It's illegal. Police aren't allowed to start groping you or stop you without a warrant. Or without probable cause. What is this? And she's like, we've got to pass a law. Lady, congresswoman, there are laws. They're not following them. The feds are power grabbing. And it has nothing to do with Al-Qaeda, who the globalists are putting in charge everywhere. We do have in the next segment that Darren McBreen report on the DPS gunboats, and they're flipping out on us for trying to cover them. That's coming up. But continuing here it is. TSA, ask woman to prove her breast pump is real at airport. And do me a favor, since you're showing that on screen, scroll down to the actual newscast. That's Mike Adams' great report at Infowars.com. I want to show people because they won't believe it. The KSDK link right there. Yeah, I want to show folks that if they're watching. There it is, News 5, where the news comes first. TSA asks woman to prove her breast pump is real at airport. And it's in Hawaii. And again, I have been in airports. I was in Billings, Montana. And the woman had her hotel shampoos. And look, I'm not a pack rat. But when I go to a hotel and they got lotion and they got a sewing kit they're giving you, or they've got, I even get the shower cap as a joke and then pull out of my bag when I get home and put it on my head and let my kids laugh at me. But, I'll take the lotion, I'll take the shampoo. I have seen them repeatedly. But one time in Billings, it was a woman and her husband and her kids, and this jackboot started screaming at her. Why do you have this? And I went, wait a minute. It says over there ounces. And then it was, sure enough, below the ounce amount, she was just flipping out on someone. I mean, who else wants a job henpecking and messing with law-abiding citizens? It sounds like the most horrible thing in the world. I mean, even when somebody's done something wrong to me, I don't like having to get in their face. Because then if they bow up, well, things escalate. But just this henpecking normal people and treating us like we're criminals. Like, I got pulled over last night. I was speeding. And I said, okay, I agree. I was probably speeding. Just give me a ticket, please. And the guy came back and said, no, Alex, I'm just going to give you a warning. But the point is, he didn't look all crazy-eyed and wasn't all, like, in my face like I was, like, trying to freak me out and escalate things. He was just a nice guy like cops used to be. And, okay, fine. But when they bow up and want to search your car and ask, what are you hiding? I'm like, look, you want to have militarized gunboats running around all over the place, name of fighting drug traffic, make the drugs decriminalized. I mean, I read all these federal filings where the U.S. government constantly gets caught shipping drugs in. They have the Marines growing the opium. Don't ask to search my car for drugs when the stinking things are shipped in. And the cops are like, well, then why are we busting you? To keep the price up, to keep it illegal, to pack the private prisons owned by banks that launder the drug money. You haven't figured this out yet? They need to have them illegal so they can shut down drug dealers that aren't sanctioned. Mexico is collapsing because of the drug war. Completely. Every analyst out there does not debate that the drug war did this to Mexico. You made it illegal. You made it have 1,000 times the profit it would have. You regulate it like cigarettes, like beer. You turn the bureaucrats loose on it, getting their piece of it. It'll be, well, Europe's done it in many areas. Portugal saw 70+%. Or it was like 69% to be technical. Pull that up. Portugal drug decriminalization, big success. You'll see all the numbers. It's like Forbes, AP, Reuters. We can do that here. Now, does it mean the cops won't get to have black uniforms and kick down doors and have excuses to have giant paramilitary systems? And I mean, they get to be warriors. They're not actually in a foreign country fighting, but they get to be here in a war and raid the wrong house. Every 2 days, I see police raiding the wrong house. Every few days, I see in the news where they raid some insurance salesman or some old lady or some Marine Corps vet, and the cops don't even yell police sometimes. The person's asleep, and they get up, don't have a gun, have a remote in their hand, get killed, and then it corrupts the police. I had Serpico, the famous New York detective, on. And I said, how many of the other narcotics detectives were on the take and dealing drugs? He said, all of them but me. All of them. All of them. Folks, I grew up in Dallas where the police, all of them, because I wasn't into drugs, but drugs were rampant in the 80s. And I'd be at parties, and sometimes the cop would be off duty in his pickup truck with drugs, delivering them to the party. Whatever people wanted. And I'm talking about the 16-year-old kids. And then I'm at school a month later, and they got drug dogs wanting to search people, and I'm like, hey, I've seen you with the other cop. You guys are drug dealers. Oh, you're going in the office. We're going to slam your head in the wall, ask how you know this, threaten to plant stuff on you. I mean, I'm just like, look, I don't use that stuff, buddy. I don't know how people do hard drugs. I've tried a few hard drugs once or twice, and it literally felt like I'd been stomped in the head by a mule the next day. Why would anyone use cocaine? Why would anyone use methamphetamine? If being up for 2 days and then throwing up the third day with dry heaves is your idea of fun, they're like, oh, you just had some bad stuff. Try it again when I was like 15. Did the same thing. Thank God. When I've had a broken leg and they gave me opiates, I threw up and I'm allergic to them. I feel so sorry for everybody in bondage. And it's Big Pharma selling the exact same garbage that's on the street. It's just synthetic. And that's okay, though. That's okay, though, even though it kills hundreds of thousands of people a year. Go look it up. But never mind, that's not the threat. Tornadoes aren't the threat. Cancer exploding is not the threat. All these real threats aren't the threat. No, TSA asked woman to prove her breast pump is real at airport. KITV. A Hawaiian mom says she was humiliated when asked to prove her breast pump was real in an airport. I've had them pull out Canon $3,000 35mm cameras we shoot video with, so they shoot the best video. And I was flying. They're like, what's this? And I walked over because they were searching Dude last time I flew with him. And I walked over to the TSA person, and I'm like, is everybody so scared of him? You got to talk to him. I go, it's a Canon camera, man. Look at it. You know that's a camera. And the person's like, get back in line. I'm like, no, he works for me. Get your supervisor if you want. That's a Canon camera, and you know what a black Canon camera is with a Canon lens on it, don't you? And then they call some supervisor trying to intimidate me. And that's when the loud preaching starts. I don't care what you... I'm not going to play your mentally ill game anymore. What's a breast pump? What's a Canon camera? It's all about how I'm bad, how I've done something wrong. No! The whole TSA insanity blew up 2 years ago when I found out that my employee, Michelle, had taken her 2 daughters, who I've known for years. Well, I've known one of them. She's like 8 or 9 now, but the other one was like a year old. And they were going to have a man go in her pants at Denver Airport. And I heard this. She came and gave the testimony. TSA said we were liars. Then all the videos came out of it happening nationwide. Drudge Report picked it up. #1 story for 2 months, according to Alexa and all the tracker systems. Because all that anger was already there. People were already awake. But boom, boom. That's why they don't like this show. It can trigger a domino effect of people that are already up there and awake. And my goal is to get other talk show hosts, other people informed, which I'm now seeing happening. So if they kill me or arrest me, it won't work. And finally, after 17 years on air, it's now 17 years next month, finally I see everything I talk about being a talking point now and being picked up by everybody. Michael Savage reads my articles in entirety on the air. And of course doesn't mention it, but I don't care. See, I don't care if he doesn't say Infowars.com. I don't care if Limbaugh, who has actually sourced my articles on air, doesn't give me credit. All I want's the info to get out. You see, it's not about Alex Jones. I know the effect we're having. But I'm going to tell you the rest of this briefly when we get back, and then we'll get into the Iran situation, what's happening with the electric cars. I was attacked, WikiLeaks reports, by Stratfor in a little local group here in Austin as a kook, which is a badge of honor. This is a psychological warfare system that we live under. Americans are to be broken. The land of the free, the home of the brave, is to be terrorized with manufactured terror. And then the federal government itself, run by foreign megabanks that have hijacked this country, are basically occupying our local police, using the military against us. It's all out in the open now, all to secure their ill-gotten gains. The globalists are criminals. They want to bring in a tyranny so they can engage in their crime without getting in trouble. That's the goal, and always escalating that level of crime. TSA asked woman to prove her breast pump is real at airport. It's all about their personal power, and I watch them getting off on harassing people. I asked him if there was a private place I could go pump when he said, you must prove. And he said, no, you can go in the women's bathroom. So it's all about your scum. I had to stand in front of the mirrors and sinks and pump my breasts in front of every tourist that walked into that bathroom. I was embarrassed and humiliated and then angry that I was treated this way. Yeah, because the plugs are by the sink. So she's in there doing this. When the bottle was full, she was allowed back on the plane. Oh, yeah, back on the plane. They pulled her off. The TSA is apologizing, saying the agent made a mistake. No, they're going to implement this system-wide. Remember, over and over again, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times they said, we're not groping under 12-year-olds. Oh, because it violates state laws and pedophilia. Oh, We're going to stop that now when they get caught doing it, and then they never stop. It's all about stalling you, all about mind games, all about deception. The agency released a statement saying, in part, we accept responsibility for the apparent misunderstanding and any inconvenience or embarrassment this incident may have caused her. No, they're going to continue it, see. Just like they kept saying, we don't strip old ladies. We don't make people that can't walk get out of wheelchairs that are going home to die, and then it turns out they are. They take old ladies in there and they pull their underwear off and laugh at them. And it just goes on and on. We have a big breakdown on this from Mike Adams at Natural News at Infowars.com if you want to read the full spectrum breakdown of it with links to the mainstream media reports and video of it. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but it's so multifaceted and so bizarre. About 3 months ago, they went and did a report on militarization of police. Now, the state police were buying $600,000+ armored boats with big machine guns mounted all over them. And we did a report. They talked to us. We did a report, and I said, you know, the drug war is a fraud, and it's basically leading to so many of the problems that we have, and it jacks up the prices of the drugs. But police like to be able to seize it and grow their agencies, and they also like to be involved, you know, in the illicit trade, the black market, because it's very lucrative. The police got very rich all over the country during 10 years of Prohibition. And they made drugs illegal right after that. When they lost alcohol, they had to have something new. That's all on record. And they have drugs illegal so they can shut down the competition. And then there's no police officer I talk to that doesn't know the government's been caught in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, growing the opium, growing the cocaine, growing the coca, shipping it in, and only shutting down their competition. I mean, bottom line. And now they have the troops growing the opium in Afghanistan and admitting it, and then shipping it into America. So Mexico's collapsing, 40,000 dead in the last 3 years, thousands dead on our side, and they're using it to take our liberties again. This is how the plan works. So Darren McBreen says, I want to go back out because they didn't have the machine guns mounted the first time. They're going to have these heavy machine guns mounted, and boy, it looks like James Bond, you know, rows of machine guns. Big armored boats. They're going to be in South Texas, but it's going to proliferate into other areas. Drones are in the sky. So Darren gets there, and it's a press conference. They've got 3 news cameras there. They're talking to him, and they see Darren walk up, got his InfoWars microphone, and they say, we're not going to talk to you. You were deceptive and said you worked for KLBJ, and the last report. And Darren, here there is his microphone that says InfoWars. And again, it's about changing the subject. And Darren goes, well, no, the last time we talked to your other spokes, when we called to ask where the event was, they said, who are you with? And we said, InfoWars, and that woman didn't know. And she said, well, where are you broadcast? We said, well, Channel 10 carries our stuff, and also 590 AM, KLBJ. So again, we're there to ask them questions about all these close to $700,000 boats, militarization of police, and it's like, no, you're not on the air. You're not media. You don't exist. And so then I learned, even before we went down there the other day, they were anticipating it, and were calling 5 different people and cold calling lines saying, what do you think Alex Jones and his problems with the state police? Well, I never even hardly talk about. Calling producers, calling hotlines, calling call-in numbers. So they were all ready to get the quote. I guess they got somebody on the line to say, no, he doesn't work here. I'm just on there. I'm just on the radio there. I have my own giant 16,000 square foot facility, over 100 stations, XM channel 166, cover of Talkers magazine, 3 million listeners a day, 15 million a week, fastest growing phenomenon in media worldwide, you know, just #1 alternative media. Yeah, so they finally got, I learned who it was, one person to say, oh no, he's not. So then they could put in their files, I'm a liar, I'm delusional, I'm not on the air. That's like the New York Times that time. They said that Bilderberg wasn't happening in Virginia, and I was in a field just crazy, imagining that they were there. You know, armored, you know, limousines coming in, Secret Service, you know, flags on the vehicles, Marines running around in the bushes. You know, Bilderberg, Obama's there, boom, didn't exist, I'm crazy. And I'm not on the air right now. You're not listening to me in Central Texas on the #1 talk station, 590, where, by the way, we're #1 in the key demographics in places like Orlando and many other areas around the country. And we're #1 in some demographics, #2 on 590. Against all radio, period, music, everything, dwarfing. That's some of the highest ratings for that station. But I'm not on it, though. You have to understand, I'm not on it, though. I'm a liar. I'm discredited. I don't have moral authority. See how they changed the subject? And it's a warfare tactic. In Waco, when the tanks were ramming it, machine gunning the people, they were saying, this is not an assault, come out with your hands up. And it's on the FLIR footage. They'd come out, they'd shoot them. People say, oh, I'm not being attacked? Okay, I'll come out. And so it's a psychological warfare tactic. They sit there with little tactics they learn, Delphi technique. They go to seminars to change it. To, change it around. Hey, we want to talk about the machine guns and all this and the militarization and, what's happening. Oh, well, you're bad. You're not on the radio. You see how that works? Instead of discussing the boats, they throw it back. You're bad. And then start calling up the program directors, calling up the general managers. Alex Jones is misrepresenting himself. You wanted to do something about this. Again, like it's Russia, and they're trying to, it's crazy. So now you're on my radar screen. Let's go to the report. We may not have time to play it all. It's on Infowars.com. But here's Darren McBreen, our reporter. Here it is.
Now we are here for the unveiling of yet another DPS patrol vessel. Now this is the second boat of what will eventually be a total of 6 34-foot shallow water interceptors to patrol the Rio Grande River. As the Texas Highway Patrol goes on a wild spending spree, these hot rod boats cost approximately $600,000 each. And yes, that's taxpayer money to fight Al-Qaeda and the small-time drug traffickers on the Texas rivers.
They're buying these giant $690-something thousand speedboats for lakes and rivers that have giant machine guns mounted all over them. And they didn't have the machine guns mounted 3 months ago when we first went out and talked to them at a lake. They didn't know who we were. We did a nice interview, put it on TV. I made my points about how we're going bankrupt, but they're constantly militarizing our police. Darren McBreen and John Brown went out there politely. And they were bowing up. They were saying, we're not going to talk to you, even though it was a press event that they called. They had state police standing right up in their space. And when they left, they had state police follow them out of the parking lot. All right, stop right there. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut the last segment with Jerome Corsi. We'll do 45 minutes with him. Let's go ahead and get him on the line for the next hour, because I want to play this actually at the end of the show. But imagine that then they start calling our local affiliate. And then I learned from one of the producers and others that they've been calling for days before, ahead of time, again, for their intelligence file. And I told them, no, that's the DPS intelligence. That's what FBI files are. They're a bunch of lies. They're a bunch of bull. And they call it intelligence instead of, so they can put in the file, Jones said, like, you didn't just hear this report on 5:90 a.m. because they said so in the DPS report. They can say Keebler elves are real. They can say flying monkeys are real. And you know what? I mean, it's like this Stratford group here in Austin. The WikiLeaks have gotten their stuff, and it's saying here that the head of that New York mosque thing's an FBI informant. Of course, that was all a way to get everybody fighting with each other. But what else is in the Stratford stuff, this private intelligence group? The head of it is in here attacking me, calling me a lunatic. And so I'll cover this later. What, a lunatic because I don't listen to a bunch of double talk? A lunatic because I'm right so often? A lunatic because I'm effective? No, all you've got is terms like lunatic to attack people like myself because you can't counter what I'm saying. Is America losing its freedom? Is globalism destroying our country? Is the New World Order cancer? You bet it is. I want America and the Republic back. I stand with George Washington. I stand with Thomas Jefferson. Who do you stand with? The Royal British called them kooks too. Yankee Doodle dandies.
What's up with these sorry politicians? Lots of bark, but when it's showtime, whimpering like little shih tzus. You want big cuts. Ron Paul's been screaming it for years. Budget crisis? No problem. Got $1 trillion year one. That's trillion with a T. Department of Education? Gone. Interior, Energy, HUD, Commerce? Gone. Later, bureaucrats. That's how Ron Paul rolls. Want to drain the swamp? Ron Paul. Do it.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.